Shalom, this is 3 Minutes on the Parasha. This week we're reading Parashat Terumah as we're welcoming the month of Adar. And the Me'oraim's commentary on Parashat Terumah brings in the theme of Purim. And the theme of Purim and the opening theme of Parashat Terumah, which is the construction of the Mishkan, the tabernacle, seem completely opposite. The Mishkan is all about our invitation to create a keli, a vessel in which God is going to bring God's presence, the Shekhinah, to dwell among us. And the story of Purim is happening on the backdrop of the absence of the divine. And this may be closer to our own experience in everyday life. And this is asking the question of how can we feel connection when there is nothing manifest, when there is nothing to hold on to. And the Me'oraim is inviting us to do our own spiritual practice for that, for this tikkun. Basically to bring, instead of a sense of fear, right, and mistrust and lack of faith when there is nothing palpable, how can we feel connected? And it's again through the theme of awareness. And the question is, how do we invite that awareness within us? And to him, the key is to embody Moshe's main character trait, which is humility. And how do we embody humility? One of the ways that we can describe humility is making space. Making space within for something that doesn't come from ourselves, for realizing that we're not the center of the world, for being ready to listen to what someone else is telling, for being ready to maybe hear God's voice, even if God is hidden and God's voice is not manifest. And if you will, this stance of humility is the opposite of the stance of Haman. Haman, the enemy of the Jews in the story of Purim, embodying arrogance and ego, right? Inflated ego. And what is being arrogant? In a way, it's literally being full of oneself, right? And to the opposite, being humble is making space. Just like when we build the Mishkan, the tabernacle, we're making space so that the divine presence can rest among us. And that's the good news, is that, because we live in a time that is not the time of the Torah, where there is, a Mishkan and the divine presence that is very obvious and manifest. We live in these times. And so the healing, the tikkun, actually is the promise that God says in the parasha. He says, V'asu li mikdash v'shachanti betocham, and they shall make for me a sanctuary, and I shall dwell among them. And this has been interpreted as meaning, and I shall dwell within them. And so the Me'oraim's invitation for us to embody humility is an invitation for us to make space, because he says that when we make space, then we can receive Moshe's awareness. We can receive that kind of prophetic awareness that invites the Shekhinah, the divine presence, to rest within us and find this deep sense of connection. So if this spoke to you, feel free to share with your friends and family. If you want to read more, feel free to click on the link with the article. This was 3 Minutes on the Parasha. I hope you enjoyed. Shabbat Shalom, Chodesh Tov.